of their chronic geriatric illness, rather they are really mentally fed up. So keeping these in mind, let me start my topic, that geriatrics in Ayurveda. And at this point, definitely, this is a very vital, as I mentioned, as an introduction. But before Corona, let's be think about before Corona. As we all know that geriatrics, the aging process, to say something about geriatrics, we have to say something about aging. As we all know that aging is a cycle of inevitable change. Everybody will get age, even though everybody want to get younger and younger until the last day of the death. So we keep on trying to prevent aging. We keep on trying to postpone aging. We keep on trying to extend our aging somehow. But the more and more we do, maybe the worse and worse situation happens. Because aging is a cycle which is highly inevitable, and in that period also it's really worth, according to the Indian traditions at least. And problems of the old age is also as old as the old age. When you read a poem of Shankaracharya, Bhajagovindam, he says, Balastavas Kridasakta, Tarunastavas Taruni-sakta, Vrthastavas Chindasakta, Bhajagovindam. Who will hear the God? Who will say Bhajagovindam? Rather, children will be Balastavas Kridasakta. They always want to play. Tarunastavas Taruni-sakta. You know, there is no need of a translation for that. Vridhastavas Chindasakta. So as the age-old age passes, there are people will be always on Chindasakta. And this chinda is a big challenge, especially in the old age. I'll come to that point. So it is a very age-old problem, Vridhastavas Chindasakta. But that may be the another reason that in Ayurveda, we respect aged people very much. Archayet Deva Go Vipra Vaidya Vrittha Nabaditi. So Vrittha is Archayet. They are the people who's to be respected. They are the people who's to be supported. They are the people those to be really cared. Those are the people to be recognized according to Vagveda. So respecting the old age. Deva, Go, Vipra, Vaidya, Vrittha. Bala is not mentioned there. None other community is mentioned there. Vrittha has been highly appreciated because, not because they are born much earlier than the existing society. Rather, they stayed in this environment. They have an experience in this society, and those experiences are highly important for the existing generation to take messages. And moreover, they are the guiding people for the future generation to come. This was really a different perspective from an Eastern cultures, from a Western culture. So for Western culture is concerned, old age people are somewhat unproductive people, those who are taking pension from the government without doing something back to the society. Of course, at the younger age, they were doing many things, but they were the people, they are really hardworking, and there was a period. And now they are retired. They are not doing much to the society. Rather, they are really enjoying all the good things from the society. And for the younger generation, they are the people who has to stay in the home, or they have to stay in the old age home, whatever. And not taking their experiences as a valid things for the progression of the country. Maybe this is rarely happens now in the United States. At least the new president is the one of the eldest president happens in the history of America. You might have seen in the newspaper, Papa's. There was a comment that Papa's president, because he was around 78. Maybe one of the oldest guy. Anyhow, even the previous Donald Trump also was quite old, but the current president is a little bit older than the. Anyhow, people need. So coming back to the topic of geriatrics, very interesting branch, which not directly mentioned in Ayurveda. We have a branch called Rasayana. We have a branch called Vajigarana, but this doesn't, those two branches are doesn't categorized based on the biological age scale. We have Kamaravartyam, which has a biological age case. We have a Kaya which is based on the systemic manifestation of the disease. We have a Vishajigilsa, which is based on the particular set of etiological manifestation of disease. But we doesn't have, originally, we doesn't have any categorization of geriatrics just because we doesn't mention something because our Asian culture is to have a rich tradition to respect old age people. It's not only in India, Japan, Korea, China, all these a larger part of the Eastern countries. There is a strong concept to respect the aging. So now comes the point of geriatrics. As we know very well, the branch of medicine which concerned with the diagnosis and treatment and prevention of the disease of the old age people. And this word comes from a Greek word called geron, old man, and iatrix is the treatment of the disease. And the reality is this thing, that aging world. This is very, very true, is that world is aging in terms of, at least in terms of human population, at least in terms of the proportion of aged people compared to rest of things. As you can see in the slide, the proportion of the world population age 60 in 1950 was just 8%. In 2000, it became 10%, just 2% of increases between 1950 to 2000. But it is, by and large, it is huge jump happened from 2000 to 2050, from 10 to 21%, more than 10%, more than the double. And parallelly, as you can see, the workers versus pensioners in the bottom with a typical picture which can easily communicate the ratio between the workers versus pensioners. So you see it was between 5.8:1, then become 3.9, then it's declining dramatically all over the world. If you look at the countries like Italy, where I have been frequently visiting there from last 15 years, and this country, there are so many areas where we have more there in the villages where I used to stay, there are more than 50% of the population is above 70. This is also one of the reasons why where Corona affected in the European country, especially in Italy, there is a huge death race because old age people are, unfortunately, they have a poor immunity and there are a high history of smoking. There are many number of reasons to that. But anyhow, that made them to become one of the world number one for at least for a short period to have the number of deaths very high between the March, April, and May. But later on, United States took over the top leadership in number of death and number of victims in the case of COVID-19. Anyhow, so that's one thing, aging is happening in the world. Another interesting thing is also India is also not too bad. India also have a alarmingly increasing population with an aging. If you look at the 121 crore, over 60 was around 10.39, and in this 10.39, our woman is over 60 is slightly higher. There is always many statistics shows that women geriatric conditions or old age women are higher than the old age men for many reasons, as you know, but statistically many studies have shown that women's lifespan is slightly higher than the men's lifespan in India. And whenever they get married, most of the time there is a short age difference, at least 1 to 2 years to even 7 to 10 years. So what happens, their husband may get pass away, or they leave the world slightly earlier than the woman. And most of the time, as we know, when we look at this society in cross section, and we realize that this woman will still survive for another few more years, at least maybe even 10 or more years. So because of this reason also, India is also aging. As you can see, India has 2 lakh centenarians. In Thrissur, where I'm staying, I have a centenarian here, the famous Kerala's first educational director, Pagaravur Chitra Nambudripad, who has recently celebrated his 100th birthday, where our Chief Minister Sri Pinarayi Vijayan has come to his house because Pinarayi Vijayan was a student for when he was the district district educational, something like that, DO, something like that, in position. He has been kicked from the classroom. There are some funny stories also came in the newspaper, which has been told by the speaker Sri Ramakrishnan on the public stage, which later on he's denied. Anyhow, so the aging in India is really increasing comparing to many other places. Then what about Kerala? Kerala is always number one in any situation, any statistical data. Most of the time we are number one. When we take the number of suicides, we are number one. Number of diabetes, we are number one. There are many situations we are number one. Just like that, same thing here also. The aging population here is 12.6. The data is a little bit older. I took the data is around 2010 to 2015 period. Recent data is not really available, but still we can assume that these projections are more or less it's a similar situation. So Kerala had 12.6 high share of aging population comparing to Goa and Tamil Nadu. They are just closer to us, and Sikkim, Mizoram are the least area. And more than that, 69% increase in number of residents of old age homes in last 4 years. There was enormous discussion might have happened. You might have seen that enormous discussion happen on the aging population in the country. At least in Kerala, there are a lot of turbulence happened because many parents, many children drop their parents in different places. For example, I'm staying 5 kilometers away from Guruvayur temple. So Guruvayur temple is one of the most auspicious place for people to go and pray, and it's also a place for the children to drop their parents because there is a big crowd. If their parents are a little bit mischievous, they are not able to adopt with their younger children, and maybe sometime some frictions between the mother-in-law versus the daughter-in-law issues. So they want to push mother somewhere, and Guruvayur temple has been unfortunately chosen as a place where people can drop, and they lose because there are hundreds of lakhs of people stay around there, and they been a big trouble. It's quite oftenly happens nowadays. There are a lot of strict rules are there, but still, even when the COVID start in the March 24, there was a meeting. Then when the whole community of the Guruvayur nearby corporation were really working on it, because there are more than 130 people were around the temple were staying without having food and proper facilities there. And since the temple is closed for an uncertainty period, how can they survive? So there is a problem, and the local municipality taken a great initiation to take all these people and within contact with the police people versus the revenue, they called back the children to took back their parents if at all possible, and many of them took to Agadi Mandiram and so on. It is very unfortunate, even after so much of education, we proudly say we have 100% of literacy and many, many things. There is a large number of people still leave the home and find their solace in the old age home. There are multiple reasons behind it. I don't blame the parents always in that context, because I don't blame the children always in the context. Many times, even the grandparents or they're also make a lot of issues, creating big turf inside the house. They are poor adaptability with the family members. They are adherent nature with their own life and their own personal obsession with many things, and they are popping up attitude. There are many things that hampers the whole dynamism inside the harmony of the house, and There may be people can blame the children that always they are the real people. Many times, the other side also we should think. That's the thing. So now let's come back to the point of aging. Aging is refers to as a multidimensional process of physical, psychological and social change, as we all have to agree with that, because from childhood we progress and we reach into certain stage. And there are many theories. If you if you want to study more about aging, there are very interesting theories. If you just type these type of names like antagonistic pletrophy theories or free radical damage theories or advanced glycation theories, there are many evolutionary theories, etc. But if you take the whole theories in a gist form, three major things has been highlighted in the context of aging. One is a genetic mutation, one is a cellular waste accumulation, and wear and tear. So I'll come to the practical aspect of this, but this is very important because these are the things has to be known as a clinician too. When couple comes and they say that I'm getting aged, my hair is becoming white, because of what? Is it a genetic mutation? We have to be addressed. Is it a cellular waste accumulation? You are working in an IT company very rigorously and not sleeping the proper way. Is it that is the reason? Or is it a too much of wear and tear due to the day-to-day struggle for existence and the life in this period? Maybe we don't know, but it has to be addressed. Now come to the practical aspect of the geriatrics. There are five things are important. The 5I to be remembered is the 5I. One is the intellectual impairment. As we know very well, as age passes, there is some deviation in the intellectual way. Like in Unmada, Charaka says, Buddhi Vibramam. Slight perversion, at least this is not a Buddhi Vibramam here, but there is an impairment. There sometimes they loses their intellectual maybe because of the degenerative changes happening in the joints, or maybe also due to some pre-existing diseases which may also slowly started coming, like a Parkinson's disease which create bradykinesia, or maybe other diseases like diabetic neuropathy or many other things. Third is an instability. Okay, different type of ataxias, different type of gait and things are changes also happens. Maybe different reasons, maybe because of the chronic degenerative changes in the spine, or in changes in the hip joint, like that. And also important to see the incontinence, especially if the male, they will have always problem with prostate gland. Whenever they want to go to bathroom, they piss a little bit, and still remaining urine will be there in the bladder for some time. And in the midnight, they have to walk up and go again and again, maybe 5 or 6 times in the midnight, which that itself will break their sleep, and that itself will be a big complaint in their life. And lastly, iatrogenic diseases, that is the vyadhi-osteoporosis, that has been induced by doctors themselves. I don't doesn't mean doctors. Vyadhi-osteoporosis also include many of the medical damages created by different self-medications too. People may be taking diabetic medicine, people may be taking hypertensive medicines, or disease medicines for coronary artery disease, or dyslipidemia, many things. So those are the medicines, since they have a habituation to have this, and they're not really regularly monitoring to a doctor. Maybe there are some of the medicine can be reduced or removed for a after a short period of time, which may be still keep on continuing. These are the many things are there in that category, iatrogenic disease. And now comes the systemic changes to old age people is concerned. We have a lot of systemic diseases that can hamper from almost every system, including central nervous system, eye and ear disorder, cardiovascular. What else? It's almost everywhere, including The psychiatric disorders, a big list of disorders we can think over in this context. Some of the most common problem in the old age is senile hypertension. Most of the time people are not really attentive to that. Commonly seen disease like Parkinsonism, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's disease, stroke, one of the most common disease in the old age, cerebrovascular accident. And with the prefix, we have senile dementia, senile prostate problem, senile cataract, senile hearing loss, sensory neuro hearing loss of the old age. There are things which has to be really separately addressed based on the age as it is. Because as the okay, we can have problem with prostate to the middle age too. People can have chronic prostatitis. But when you are addressing a prostate problem to a 75-year-old person, it is quite important to realize that he is already age 75. His prostate have a natural tendency to get hypertrophied, mostly a benign prostatic hypertrophy. Still, if there is a possibility to minimize the size of the prostate, that is sufficient. Or is there are some technique by which he can at least reduce the size of the prostate, could be of really a great help for the old age, not simply advising for a surgery. So when we come to the context of perspective of Ayurveda, we have to remember many things in the context of aging. So we have a Swabhava Bala Pravarta. When Ashtanga Sangra Vagbada says, Sahaja Sagar Pajada Vidagala Prabhava Swabhavaja, Saptavidagala Yoga Bhandi. So Swabhava Bala Pravarta is a very good thing. And again, concept of Jara Vyati, like the scalp getting, like baldness, etc. Ashtasara Hinada, all the Sara getting declined as the age passes. And obviously, we know that there is a Dhadukshaya Avastha, is there, Vada Pragopam will be there. And as age passes, there will be a progressive Ojakshaya happens, provided if they are not maintaining their health at its best. And there are triads in the context of aging. One triad is Agni, Ama, Shrotas problem. They have many problems with Agni and a tendency to get Ama frequently. There are tendency to have blockage of Shrotas due to many life things. And another side, we have Buddhi, Manas, and Sharira problems. Another side, in the subtle level, Prana, Ojas, and Tejas level. So these are triad to be remembered when we understanding any geriatric conditions. And looking at these things, we have to plan things. Anyhow, Ayurvedic geriatric means a mantra to be evergreen. Aging is a natural process. Let them enjoy their life. Are we able to do that? Yes. So what is our ultimate target? It is not to cure, rather improve the quality of life. Keep them actively in the part of the society. This is very, very important. Even this COVID period, as I mentioned before, we cannot go like this. We cannot go like this. Temples are closed, churches are closed. This is the place where at least the religious part of the elderly people could be able to find a solace, which is really unfortunately closed. They are not able to go out. They are really inside the house. They are really stressed. So we have to find solution for them. We have to spend time with them. We have to find time with them, not for curing their disease. Otherwise they will come up with many psychosomatic diseases. Absolutely. They already started coming with many psychosomatic diseases. So we have to care them than the cure. So what we have to do, so for the geriatrics content, many things has to be done. Aharam, Viharam, Vikaram, Vicharam, Acharam, all the levels we have to work. In the Ahara level, we have to work. Viharam, Vicharam. I don't need to translate these words because you're all Ayurvedic scholarly people hearing my lesson. So they know, you already know what it means. We also need some Aushadhas if there are essentials. There are Ardravya Chikitsas also there, gathering together, spending time, laughing, sharing their experiences like that. We also have many Rasayana and Vajigana medicines too. And Ahara, in the context of Ahara, they are the people expecting Satmyam, Lekushnam, Ojaskaram Ahara. Seasonal diet is a must. They should have nityam kshira kridashinaha. If they are not having any coronary artery disease, since they are undergoing a vata prakopa state, they should have a milk and ghee a little bit every day. Yusha, yavagu, mamsarasa like soup, very, very important. Daily having takra, buttermilk, very, very important. Paniyam with panagam, different type of drinks, very, very essential. Should be made available whether they are in the house or they are away from the home, like a home. And vihara and vichara, very, very importantly, they have to find a vyayama, vishrama axis, an equilibrium. We have found many people, they do too much of vyayama, too much of exercise. This is also a big problem. If they have become too much of vishrama, they are too much of rest, they also this also makes a problem. So we have to find an equilibrium, a balance between vyayama and vishrama. Good sleep, absolutely necessary, because most of the old age people will have a problem in the sleep. So to find a good sleep, so they have to get actively involved in physically, as well as they also need to be really mentally slightly tired, fatigued. Yathatma manasiklanda karmatmana klamanyuda vishebhyo nivartande tadaso vidhi manava. So karmatmana klamanyuda is needed. And avoidance of vegadharana, very important. It's also very good to have a Purana Parayana, like philosophical, spiritual books will be of really worth for them to think over higher reliance in their life, how they can progress their life. Very, very important, at least for India is concerned. These things are very much consoling for the people, and it also helps them to survive most of their illnesses in their life. Charaga nicely mentioned that Vishado Roga Varthanana. In Ashtanga Sangraha, there is a chapter called Agrasangarniyam. There is also mentioned of Vishada. So depression aggravates all the diseases. Without saying any statement, you can imagine that at this COVID period, how many people might have been went for mild to moderate depression. Absolutely yes. Even I don't make any statement, you know that. And Sharangadhara very beautifully mentioned the concept of aging in a very different way and with a simple drugs. This is a very interesting observation, probably which could be tried. So every 10 years, so every decade in our life, we may lose one factor. So after 10 years, we lose our childhood. 20 years, growth. 30 years, beauty. Many people may not agree. Beauty, how can we lose 30 after when 40 we become 30? How can we beauty? There are many people of beauty, still beauty. Yes, anyhow, I agree with that. So intellect at the fourth 40s, health of the skin and vision, power of sex, physical strength, like that. These are very, very interesting. And Sharangadhara beautifully says that if you are doing something, better to do before 70. Don't do it when you are too old, say 75, 80. It's useless to do things. That is why in the context of Rasayana, Charaka says, Purve Vaisi Mathyeva. Purve Vaisi Mathyeva. At least let us start Rasayana. And nowadays, so the whole Ayurvedic approach from Ahara, Vihara to Oushadha, it is very important they should follow the Abhyanga, Murtha Daila, very, very nice. We have Vayasthabhana Ganam, very important, can be used in daily practice. Smrtisthapana Ganam, there are many Netra Oushadhas are very, very useful for them. So let us think about the holistic approach of this geriatrics thing. So I just categorized practically the whole problems into four. One is Indriya Pradosha Vyadhis, Dhatugata Vyadhis, marmaghata Vyadhis, and manasika Vyadhi, just for application. So we have Indriya Pradosha Vyadhis. For example, Timire Rogam. It is oftenly, as the age passes, people have cataract. So it is advisable for people to use Kajayabhanam Kodambal or daily application of Tripila Kridam in the eyes. Very good. Frequent practices of Elanir Kodambal or Netra Kriyakrama, Netra Rakshas would be of very, very useful in just beginning of the old age. And Dhadukshayajani Vyadhi, one big example is Astigata Vadam or Asti Saushidhyam. People should follow regular abhyanga or kayasegam like panchakarma, like shiravastis, daily usage of tilataila, shadavari, very important drugs like shallagi, gugulu, kalpas. People can take gugulu kritam, gandhadailam, or sudhavargam, like a calcium, if you want to support with the calcium. Sudhavarga is also there. This is another way how we can support the people. And again, marma related vyadhis. There are marma related vyadhis related with heart, marma related with kidneys also there. I took an example like BPH, like prostate issues, where text beautifully explains the usage of Ayurveda Snehavanam or Lekhaniya Vastis, Uttaravasti, Chara Chikilsas. Excellent. These are very worth practicing and very beneficial too. And comes the important aspect is the manasika vyadhis. Dementia is a very, very common problem they face, and that has to be addressed in the beginning itself by using kritapanam, some medhyarasayanam. Charaka describes beautiful medhyarasayanam. Shirena yashti, madhukasijurnam, sarasa prasyoja, like that, Guluchi, Shangapushpi, that Yashti Madhu, this type of things. Or our classically available medicines like Saraswata Kritam or Brahmi Kritam, Chayanaprasam, etc. could be of really useful. Practice of Murtadailam, very important. Adravi Chikitsa, that is counseling, communicating with the elderly people will be of very useful. And new scope for specialty. We are actually not really focused, still we are not focused on the geriatrics. As the ages passes, there is a conventional belief that for the children, people will choose homeopathy. Middle age, people will choose for modern medicine. And old age people, Ayurveda. There's a general notion, at least in Kerala. So if that is the case, we have to develop more this area. We have to develop geriatric shalakya. We have to develop geriatric manasika chikitsa. We have to develop geriatric Stri Roga. Very, very important area. People comes in the clinic, woman comes with a 70, 65, 70 and complains to the gynecologist, doctor, when I cough, when I sneeze, a little urine comes. It's very hesitating for me. Nowadays, I'm not going to any functions. I'm not able to participate in the family gathering because this is something very unusual to me. I don't know. It's really, really making me crazy what to do with this situation. Can you help? They do some surgical, some correction, some clipping, etc. But if we use Ayurvedic medicine, definitely in the beginning itself, definitely it could have bring some very good result. And again, in this group, we can classify to based on the different age, 60 to 71 group, 70 to 80 or 80 plus, or based on the sex, male or female, we can classify them and plan something. Occupation based on the hard work or executives. There are really a great scope for Ayurvedic Geriatric Care Institute instead of really this home stay or instead of the the old age home. We need places where old age people are really cared, not pushed by, not dropped by the children, rather the places that will really give advices for the old age people in the perspective of preventive, promotive, curative units. There are enormous scope. Still, there are not many institutes in the country that will offer exclusively geriatric care. Look at even in the modern medicine, they are not really explored this area. We have ENT hospitals, we have dental hospitals, we have so many ophthalmic hospitals. Even we have a lot of disease-based hospital like cancer care, gynecological care, like that. But we are not yet focused. It's a emerging area where Ayurveda has an upper edge because we are not really repair the situation. Rather, our treatment include counseling, rehabilitations, and at least to extend the quality of life. And this will be of great importance. So there is also, to begin with that, there is also need to have enormous researches in the geriatric center. We have to study more about degenerative diseases, lifestyle diseases of old age, like diseases like, I should say, immunity compromised diseases. Uh, and also there is a need of a collaborative multi-phase research to find geriatric assessments, geriatric criteria in the Ayurveda. And if you search in the internet, you will see there are many single herbs, clinical drugs under trial on this area. One is a brahmi, as you know very well, the mandukaparni, kapikachu as a brain nourisher, lasuna. Very oftenly people take for lasuna, garlic, especially in the coronary artery diseases. Aswagandha. These days in the COVID, the price of the ashwagandha went 3 times higher, just because it is believed that it boosts the immunity. Of course, it boosts immunity, but it has many other things to do in the system, like scavenging the free radicals. And nowadays, new age medicines also, technologies also developed for the old age people. It's also very important. We have many new age products, and we also have many products like nutraceuticals. If you look at the common products like Horlicks, they made, okay, women's Horlicks. And now they're telling that diabetic Horlicks. Now they're telling for old age people there is a special Horlicks. So they are extending their area of business areas. There is also another way, there is a technologies driven by health monitoring devices. Nowadays with the phone, we can track our health monitoring. If you have a Gmail and you have a linked with that with some apps in your GFit, some apps, all your ups and downs, how many steps you went. Even if you fall down, there are watches like Apple Watch, they will detect. It's very interesting. They will find, there are technologies by which will be very helpful for the old age people. Very recently, a new app, if you open today's Malayalam Manorama paper, you can see a story of an institute. They developed a new app, new gadget also for the people, which will be very helpful for them when they fall down, when they fall on sick also. Nowadays, the new technology is also extended in the COVID period. If I'm in my Apple Watch, I can even take the ECG, so that even the pulse oximeter is extended, blood pressure is extended. There are many things are extending. I don't know how truthful they are, how accurate they are, but still, there are health monitoring softwares and devices are by and large increasing. Definitely, these are things also areas where Ayurveda can extend it. Oh, thank you for the tick. Somebody has made a tick on my screen. Organizers, can you wipe it off if possible? Otherwise, anyhow, it's okay. It's okay. I will. Thank you. So many more from Ayurveda we can do. Ayurveda in old age form, old age home. Ayurvedic geriatric packages we can do in many hospitals. Even it is very, very important to have public awareness programs on Ayurvedic geriatrics. We can organize actually Ayurvedic programs for senior citizen forums, arts and films to propagate old age care. Publications. Do you know there are magazines in Kerala, Vanita. There are magazines for the men. Do there is any magazine for old age? I don't know. There are one magazine, what I've seen is Nostalgia, or another magazine called 40 Plus. But I don't know. So far, my knowledge is concerned, I didn't see any seriously addressing old age magazine, a magazine which really focusing on old age. It's really a very important space still. There are magazines, publications for almost everything. For the temples they have, for religious people they have, even there are the silly things, even the photographies, watches. There are magazines for watches too. But still, we don't have publications for the old age. It's really a very, very good space. Probably we think of to do something for that. So celebrating World Elderly Day is also to be important thing. So remembered. So before concluding, remember this tree too had a green past. So let our Ayurveda keep them evergreen. No more piece by piece replacement, but total care. This is what really Ayurveda recommends. So if I look at the crowd, You see, these are the people like V.S. Achudanandan or L.K. Advani or Lalu Prasad Yadav, Kapil Sibal, or these are the people who were really decision maker even when they were in old age, when they were in the power. Of course, there are many of them already out of the scene now, but still, when they were in the power, when they were in the really areas, they were really decision makers. So old age is also a boon which has to be explored because their experiences are the distilled part of their experience in this world. So by these words, I stop here because it's already 8:48, and again in the context, my humble pranam goes to the one of our senior most Ashtavaidya E.T. Narayanan Moose, who left a few months before, who was the managing director of Vaidyaratnam Aushadhashala. And by these words, I conclude. Thank you for all the participants.